Yo, what's going down, everybody? It is straight out of Boston here, aka the King of Boston. And today we have episode, I always lose track of this, but I think this is episode 10 actually, of the Around the League series. And today we're doing my association team, actually the Detroit Pistons. And this is another gameplay against my good friend Burns. And he's using the Sacramento Kings. We're both using some disgusting uniforms. This is actually going to end up being a triple overtime thriller. And this video is, that's why this video is a little bit longer than most of my Around the League videos, but this is a long video. This is a long gameplay, but anyway, you'll see it, and I'm going to get into talking about the Pistons now. Obviously, you guys probably know, well, you probably don't 100% know, what I think of them, but obviously, I did them as my association team. I don't think that they're going anywhere anytime soon, to be quite honest. I'm looking at this roster. It's very interestingly structured, to say the least. I'll start out by saying that Greg Monroe, I think, is an emerging star in the NBA. He's 6'11", 250. He can play power forward or center. I think he was drafted as kind of a power forward and emerged into a center just with the lack of, any 7-footers who could really play for this team. And by this team, I mean the Pistons, of course. But now that they have drafted Andre Drummond, who I think is going to be very, very good. Someday he has a ton of potential. He's a ton of athleticism, and that's really why the Pistons are so high on him. I thought they got a steal for him at the 9th overall pick, and I think that Drummond and Monroe are going to be a very good front court duo for the future. I mean, Drummond, like I said, has worlds of potential. He's not the type of guy that was drafted and was going to come in and be a star like a Tyreek Evans or something. He's a guy that was drafted as a project. Maybe it's going to be a year or two before he kind of figures it out, becomes a double-double threat. But his shot blocking is always going to be there. His athleticism is always going to be there, at least until he, grows old or whatever. And hopefully by then, he'll develop enough that he can live without that athleticism. So I really like Greg Monroe. I think, I like Greg Monroe, but I really like Andre Drummond. I wasn't so high on that pick at first, but I think it is a really good pick for the Detroit Pistons. And it seems that, they've figured out what their front court's going to be for the next, 10 years, hopefully, at least for Pistons fans. Now, Greg Monroe will have to be re-signed after the next season, but he will be a restricted free agent, so hopefully the Pistons will most likely offer him a max, maybe a little bit less than a max contract, and hopefully they'll figure that out. Now, the Pistons also have some other young guys that I really like. Now, you can call me a little bit biased here, but I'm a big fan of Kyle Singler. He did go to Duke, which is one of the reasons why I like him so much, but I think he can play. As he said in that little trick shot video he made, he gets buckets. And, I think he's good. I mean, he's great at Duke. He's a good shooter, can score. He's decent at defense. He's on a cheap contract right now. So I think, they ought to give Singler some more playing time and, see what he can do. He wasn't, scouted as a very top NBA prospect. I believe he actually went over and played in Europe, and this is his first NBA season. But I like him. I mean, I think that they should definitely continue to play him. Hopefully, he could become maybe the small forward for the future. Maybe he'll become a role player. But, if you can find a role player, that's fine. I mean, if you're the Pistons, you're sorting out guys that are going to be on the team in the next 3 to 4 years or so. Now, obviously, the Pistons have some really bad contracts. Charlie Villanueva, Rodney Stuckey. Although Stuckey is okay, I'll talk about him in a sec. Corey Maggetti's got a bad contract. Luckily for them, his is expiring after this year, so they won't have to deal with him after this year. Jonas Jerebko's is kind of big, not too big, but for what he provides, it's a little bit big. And other than that, I mean, it's not too bad, but they got rid of Ben Gordon's contract, and I don't know if they gave up a first-round pick in that deal. I'm not too sure. But they got rid of Ben Gordon's 2-year contract for Corey Maggetti's 1-year contract. So they basically, got rid of they can get an expiring contract just a little bit quicker, and that's good. So, likely Maggetti will be off the team. I think Villanueva is also on a 1-year deal, so he'll likely be off the team after this year. Stuckey has 2 years left, I believe, and Tayshaun might have 3. Tayshaun Prince is a guy that I think they might, either him or Maggetti, I think, are just going to get dealt this year at some point. I think they're going to be a little bit quick to the trigger. Maybe not take a deal that they should take. Wait a little bit, but I think they'll deal one of them. I don't know who's going to want Tayshaun Prince's contract, so I think Corey Maggetti's more likely to get dealed. But, Maggetti's 33, but he's a good scorer. He's 6'6". He's not too big, but he has proved that he can play small forward before, so you might see him get dealt. I doubt Charlie Villanueva will get dealt because he has no trade value. And, it's interesting, this Pistons team, it's failed in a lot of aspects. I think that when they traded Chauncey Billups and they let go of Ben Gordon and Rasheed Wallace, they really decided that they were going to move on to guys like Rodney Stuckey and Jason Maxiell, who just haven't worked out. And it sucks because those guys were seen as two big pieces for the future back, 5-6 years ago, and they just haven't panned out. And that happens all the time in sports. But they're trying to move on again. I think Stuckey might get dealt in the offseason. I don't know. He has a little bit of trade value. I mean, he's having a decent year this year, but I think you're gonna see him get dealt at some point. Other than that, I don't really see anyone with too much trade value. But I mean, the Pistons will have some moves to make. They'll probably acquire at least an extra pick or two in the coming years. That'll be good. I really like Brandon Knight. I think Brandon Knight's gonna be a star in the NBA. He's only 21 years old. He went to Kentucky, and point guards out of Kentucky recently, and John Wall and Derrick Rose have really looked good. And even Eric Bledsoe is emerging as a pretty nice young player for the Los Angeles Clippers. So I have faith in Brandon Knight. He didn't have the best rookie year. It was solid, but it wasn't Kyrie Irving like. But he's having a great sophomore season. Like I said, I really like him. As you can see, the game is about to go into the first overtime. But I'm a big fan of Brandon Knight. I think he's got a world of potential. He's a great shooter, great scorer. He's an underrated passer. I don't know what his ceiling is, but I think it's pretty high. I think he's got a bright future in the NBA, and I think the Pistons found themselves a stud and a point guard for the future. Now, I've talked before that I think Andre Drummond and Greg Monroe are going to be great backcourt pieces. I think Will Bynum might be a guy that you have to deal this year. He's at the peak of his trade value after his last couple games. I don't know. He's 29 years old. I don't really know if they intend on keeping him past his contract, which I believe also expires this year. But anyway, the Pistons have a lot of expiring contracts, so if they don't choose to trade some of these guys who are on expiring contracts, they're going to have a lot of turnover on that roster, which could be for the good. I mean, they could sign some guys. They could just free up some cap space, maybe make a trade for even a DeMarcus Cousins. I did read a report that even though the Pistons were very high on DeMarcus Cousins about, 3 or 4 years ago, they are unlikely to deal for him now, just because they're really high on Drummond. He's basically untouchable, and they doubt they're going to give up Greg Monroe for him. So, but they could make a trade for a guy with a big contract or something. We'll have to see. As for the other guys on this team, I don't know. I've never really seen Chris Middleton play. Kim English was good in Missouri, but he's 24 years old. He doesn't seem like he has much potential or anything like that. Austin Day from Gonzaga, who I don't know what year he's in. I think it's his 3rd or 4th year or something. He shows signs of being an elite three-point shooter in the NBA, but he's just too inconsistent. I think they'll probably hang on to him, maybe see what he can do for the next year or two, and then maybe let him go after that. Well, we'll see. Jonas Jerebko, I think, is good. He's a good face-up power forward. He has a good pick-and-pop game. He's very similar to Charlie Villanueva. I don't know if they intend to keep him. I think they should. Once again, he's another guy who shows signs of being very special, and I think that they should definitely at least try to hold on to him, see what they can get. That center, Kravs, I can't pronounce that name. Vyacheslav Kravtsov. I don't know. I've never seen him play. Don't know much about him. He's like a 7-footer. He's listed at 6'11". I think he's a 7-footer from what I've seen of him, at least picture-wise. But it's pretty much all I have to say about this team. This team is definitely in rebuilding mode. I think every team in the NBA should do what the Thunder have done, and that's just try to build through the draft. That's your best way. Rookies get basically a 4-year rookie contract. It's 2 years with a 2-year team option, and then they become restricted free agents, which means if you have the cap room, you can re-sign them to whatever deal another team offers them. So I think if you're a team that's rebuilding, you gotta try and lock up a star for the next 8-9 years. I think if you can build through the draft. And what was the stat? 32 of the 40 NBA Finals MVPs all time have been drafted by that team that they won for or whatever. So that's pretty impressive. I think they got to rebuild through the draft. Maybe try to trade away some of their guys, get some extra draft picks. But they're definitely rebuilding. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. I hate to say it, Pistons fans. You can see I'm going to end up winning this. As you're going to see, I get fouled here up by 3. I'm going to the line for 2 more. Now I'm up 5. Jimmer Fredette ain't got nothing. Oh, actually, yeah, it does. He had a 3 there. But I'm going to inbound the ball quickly to Brandon Knight. I'm just going to chuck up a shot to get the ball out of my hands, and I end up winning this game 111-109. So you're going to see the stats in just a moment on a little screenshot. Because we did do this in like a locker room party or whatever, you're not going to be able to see the whole team stats and the box score and all that. You're just going to see a little snapshot of it. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say. So let me know what you guys think the Pistons should do. If they should trade some guys, if they should try to go build through the draft like I mentioned. It's going to wrap this video. So I thank you guys for watching. Hope you did enjoy. And so I'm out. Peace.
Thank you.